Hi, it's Josh MacEwen here with episode 27 of Dufferin Spotlight on Business, where we bring your community to you by letting you know what's available in the area while highlighting the advantages of shopping local. And this week we are joined by Angela Hughes of Glomalin. And through Glomalin, Angela produces and markets skincare products that are composed of all natural, sustainable ingredients that people of all ages will find useful. With an education in electrical engineering technology and her first job being at the Department of National Defense, Angela has taken an interesting journey to get to where she is today with Glomalin, which I'm sure you'll find as interesting as I did. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Angela worked on the space shuttle. Glomalin isn't your typical skincare company, which is definitely a good thing, as once learning more about her, you'll understand why Angela Hughes is the perfect person for the skincare industry. Don't take my word for it though. Recently, Glomalin became the first organic skincare line to be incorporated into Seneca College's Aesthetics and Spa Therapies program, which will set up their students with the products and knowledge that they've been demanding. To learn more about Glomalin, check out their website, glomalin.ca, and follow them on social media. You can buy their products through their online store or at locations such as Kala Yoga and Harmony Whole Foods Market in Orangeville. Big thanks to Angela for her time and for making this possible, and thanks to you, the audience, for listening. I'm Josh MacEwen, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business. Thanks. Hi, it's Josh MacEwen here with Dufferin Spotlight on Business, and today I'm joined by Angela Hughes of Glomalin. Hi, Angela. Thank you so much for joining me. Can we start off with you giving us a brief background on yourself and your business for those who don't already know?
Sure. Thanks, Josh. So my business is located in Dufferin County in the town of Mono. I operate it from my home. I make and sell organic skincare products, and the products are available on my Shopify website, which is www.glomalin.ca. And they can also be purchased locally at Harmony Whole Foods and Shelburne IDA.
Awesome. So what are Glomalin's most popular products or services?
Our best seller is our moisturizing face cream, followed by our anti-aging serum.
Awesome.
They're, especially this time of year, they're top sellers.
I can imagine. So where did the name of the company come from, if you don't mind me asking?
So just to give a little bit of background, I actually came out of the water remediation industry prior to this. And so what I learned in that industry is that there's a lot of water pollution, and people want clean water, but they don't necessarily want to pay to clean it up. So I wanted to come up with a brand that had ingredients that supported the idea of sustainability. So they were good for us. We could put them on our skin without any issues with toxic ingredients. But the other thing is they have ingredients that come from organic farming practices. So that is the other idea of sustainability. So the word glomalin actually means a glycoprotein found in soil that without it, soil could not support an ecosystem. And not to say that is actually an ingredient in my products, but it's the idea of an ecosystem is a closed loop, and whatever we do to it, we reap what we sow. So if you want good outcomes, you have to treat an ecosystem well. So organic farming practices are a way to not only be good to the planet, but to be good to our bodies by putting things on it that are done in a sustainable way.
Wow. I mean, that's really like, that's so true. Cause I mean, like you have like, well, you do, but most people don't have any idea what they're putting onto their body. And
Yeah.
again, where that comes from as well, and the sustainable practices or unsustainable practices behind it. Like, and that's awesome. Cause I mean, your background actually shows that this isn't just some way to market your product. Like, you actually know what you're talking about. Like, I can't imagine a better person for something like this. Like,
Thank you.
It's truly like, that's awesome. So, and I mean, that's such an interesting background for such a name too. Cause I mean, like, especially like in this industry, I imagine like there's a lot of there's like a lot of celebrity endorsed stuff and just like little marketing names and things like that. Like this is like that's really interesting. Like there is truly a background behind that name, like which kind of like
Hmm.
just represents all that you're trying to do with your product. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So does Glomalin have any major projects or jobs on the go right now?
So with COVID, as you can imagine, it's been challenging to figure out ways to grow my business because one of the ways I used to acquire new customers was trade shows.
Yeah.
And I would go to a trade show and I would give out like 1,000 free samples as a way to get people to try the product. And usually people that try it, they would buy it. So since COVID, those opportunities are now non-existent. So I've had to find kind of new ways to come up with to grow my customer base because I have quite a few products. I have 15 products. So I don't want to introduce any new products until I get real traction with those 15. So one of the things I've been working on is how to get more kind of individual customers to buy through my online store.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually working with a local company called Dufferin to help me with my SEO and my online presence to get more traction online. And we're trying to come up with creative ways to engage more customers, both locally and nationally. And also, I have individuals trying to get me into other stores. And right now, I have a friend in the US is trying to get me into a chain of stores down there. And that chain of stores is actually 300 stores. So that if that happens, that could be a big breakthrough for my company.
Wow.
So I'm working on a lot of things to try and get customers, but in ways that I didn't do before COVID.
That's amazing. I also heard there's some other big news that you have going on with Glomalin as well.
Yes, we were fortunate enough at one of the trade shows a couple years ago. The director of the aesthetics program at Seneca College tried a sample and she became a customer. And just since COVID started, she approached me and said, there's an interest in our students to use more natural products. And so they ordered some bigger sizes that I usually have never made before so they could use it in their program. And so that's a very new thing. It just happened in November. And it's pretty exciting
Definitely.
because that just shows that, you know, they're not just natural, but I think she recognizes that the performance of the products in terms of what they do for your skin is good enough that they can be used in an aesthetics program. Because usually the products that you buy off the shelf in a store are a different caliber of performance than what you would say have applied to your skin at a spa. So that is, I think, a real kind of check mark for Glomalin, saying that the products really do perform and also tick the box for natural.
100%. I mean, wow. I mean, because I mean, there's not many products that they bring into that program, I imagine. Like, so I mean,
Yeah,
that's
not probably made in Canada products, that's for sure. Yeah,
that's another one too. Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So how many people does Glomalin employ today?
Me,
Yeah,
I'm
nice.
it.
Wow.
So my goal is that I would love to grow the business enough so that I add a couple of employees next year.
Wow. That's that's quite a lot to do all by your
It
like
is, it's a lot of hats to wear.
yeah. Wow. Wow. So I mean, well, then you know this question, the answer to this question better than anybody. So what do you think makes Glomalin different from the competition?
Three things. The number one thing is our ingredients are, there's very few ingredients. They're recognizable as things that are non-harmful to, that you basically could ingest without harm to your body. Um, our goal is for the majority of the ingredients to come from organic farming practices. So in some of our products, we've achieved that 100%. So that's number one. Number two is that by buying our products, you're also supporting sustainable practices in farming. And I don't think that can be said for a lot of personal care products. So the fact that we're chemical free and that our ingredients are organic, it just, you can support that agenda. And then the third thing is that our prices are very approachable. They're prices that you would expect to pay for products that you would, say, buy at Shoppers Drug Mart, as opposed to a high-end retail store. So the products are priced in such a way that they're just about anybody can afford them. So you don't have to have the six-figure income to buy $100 face cream. Like our face cream is $24, which is very approachable for most people.
That's awesome. Because I mean, like going back to Seneca, like it's great because when you have these students learning, like they're learning to use these kinds of products. Like
Yes,
if not, they're insisting that they want to use it themselves. Because I mean, young people are very active minded as well. Um, so I mean, it's great that they're learning this, and also it's at an approachable price point. So if some of them do go off on their own or starting up, they are able to get the products themselves. So I mean,
correct. Yeah,
that's that's so great that you've gone into an educational institution because it does set an example and it does make a difference.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So so yeah. So beyond complying with health orders, what changes has Glomalin had to make to adapt to the new environment?
Well, we just, in terms of growing our sales, we've had to be creative about how to do that without our normal um, ways of acquiring new customers. So that's something we're still learning. Um,
100%.
we also want to start selling on Amazon, and Amazon requires that we have a quality certification for our manufacturing. So we are in the process of getting ISO 9000 certified, and we would expect to have that in place by sometime next year. So that's going to give us a new channel to sell through. Plus, it's going to open up, with that kind of international certification, it will open up other markets outside of Canada, like Europe, for
Wow.
example. Yeah.
Wow, that's great news. I mean, that's very impressive too. I mean, that's a lot of work. I can imagine. I don't know, but I mean, I remember going through the details when it's it's a lot, so I can imagine it's a lot of work.
It is. I'm really fortunate. I am in the mentorship program at Innovation Guelph. So
Awesome.
they introduced me to an ISO 9000 consultant who's helping me. And he's doing a lot of the helping me write the quality procedures, which is really helpful. Makes it a lot faster than if I had to do it from scratch.
100%. I mean, there's no reason to have to rewrite everything from scratch again. Like it's not like you're the first person to ever do it in the world, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's great to have someone that knows what they're doing get through
Yes.
this. Um, because yeah, it's not impossible to do to yourself, but I mean, again, it's not necessarily necessary to do
Yes.
yourself. um, or maybe possibly the smartest thing to do. Um, but but anyways, are there any changes with Goblin that you've considered to be beneficial or you think will last into the future?
Well, the ISO 9000 certification, I think, is so, with COVID, and kind of the change in the marketplace, it actually gave me time to do what I would call a business reset. So it allowed me, so I'm able to put some things in place that are going to be beneficial when the company goes from me making the products in small batches by hand to a production facility. And this kind of application of a quality program and standards will help me it'll make it easy for me to make that transition to a production facility. And that's, again, something that Innovation Guelph can help me with, because they've mentored other skincare companies like myself who started out in operating from home, and then they built a production facility. So that's something they're going to mentor me in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great that there's these resources out there to help people, because I mean, it can be pretty daunting for many that it freezes them from going forward.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it can be quite intimidating for a lot of people, for pretty much everybody.
There has been, in some ways, I guess COVID has actually benefited me, because before COVID, I worked in another company, in a tech company, and that was kind of my main income from that company. But with the advent of COVID, they wound that company down, and then I was now on Glomalin full time. And so with COVID, there's been a lot of government funding from the federal government that's actually made it possible for me to make that transition to working on it full time.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it is. It's really great.
That's awesome. So actually, that leads into our next question. Like, which did you find it, like, well, you did, like, are you willing to like share which ones you found actually useful?
Yeah. So there's so many acronyms now for this funds, but I did take advantage of SEBA,
Yep.
which is the one that was the $40,000 interest-free loan. So I did get that.
They made that really
And
accessible too.
pardon me?
They made it fairly accessible too, which was great.
Yes, it was very easy. The application process was through your bank. It was not complicated.
Yeah.
And it took a little while. I guess they had a lot of applicants, so it took a while for the approval process, but it was pretty streamlined, I would have to say.
Yeah.
And then personally, I did take advantage of both CERB and the CRB. And then through the economic business, it's kind of a program with like for small business in the province of Ontario. And I was able to get a working capital loan as well that was a fairly low interest rate.
That's great.
So there's been a lot of government funding I've been able to access.
That's
So
great.
along with that and the help I'm getting at Innovation Guelph, it's been really great. I've been getting a lot of support.
That's awesome, because I mean, these resources. I mean, there's the big businesses are getting so much help, and they're not necessarily putting the money to the best of use, and it's not necessarily going to the people that need it, but and benefit from it the most, and it will benefit their local communities the most.
Yeah.
And again, engaging in the best business practices, and like which you're doing, like you're trying to engage in sustainable business. Well, you are engaging in sustainable practices, and like it's great to see, because I mean, when you see some of these companies, like you're hearing the stories about all these big companies getting like the wage subsidy, and then also paying out big dividends to shareholders, and
Yeah.
it's just a way different story when you hear about people on the ground actually getting, like, regular people getting the money and how they're able to put good use to it. And again, people spend that money, like they spend that money, and it helps benefit the local communities around them, whereas when
Yes.
they go to the big corporations, it's a different story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
uh, but anyways, so what was the biggest problem that Glomalin experienced during COVID? What was it, the lack of the trade shows, you would say, or was there something else?
The biggest problem was that in the beginning of COVID, sales basically they just disappeared. So for that initial, I guess it was like I would say the initial like 3 to 4 months, I had like no sales, and I think that was because people were just figuring out, like the stores and everything, they were just trying to figure out how they were going to cope.
Yeah.
And so once people adjusted their lives and kind of understood the pandemic, then the sales kind of picked it back up to where they were before COVID.
That's good. That's good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to make up for those lost sales, but I mean, it's great that the confidence was restored. And I mean, again, you have a great product anyways, but I mean, like the confidence was back in the market that your business was able to take part in that as well. Because I mean, it's yeah, there's the big businesses have gained a lot off this, but I mean, it's great to see that there is we all know there's small businesses that have done okay throughout this as well. Like I mean,
Hmm.
those they're good small businesses.
Yeah.
It's not bad big businesses. The good small businesses are the ones that are
I
benefiting.
think the main advice I would give around COVID is you just got to stay the course. You can't stop. You just got to continue to service your customers, let them know you're there and that you're not, um, you can still do business as usual. So,
Exactly. It just
so I haven't stopped doing anything. I've continued delivering product. I've continued all my marketing because I just see this as, it's not going to be forever. COVID is going to end eventually.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And I mean, as many people have said, like the world still needs to go on. I mean, we need to adjust our lives to COVID, no doubt. We need to be safe. That is the priority. But I mean, we also need to survive financially and with our businesses, and also support our customers. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the reality. Like I mean, and those are the businesses like where you've seen some of them pivot to help, like in a variety of different ways, to help serve their customers because that's what was important to them, and they knew they could make a living off of that. So I mean, and again, like just how you pivoted online, I mean, that's a way like it's great to see because I mean, it's that's also intimidating for people. So I mean, it's great as well. Um, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So would you like to mention any family or friends?
So I guess a, a person, I have two daughters, they're 30 and 25. And the way Glomalin started, um, just over about 4 years ago, is at the time my husband had cancer
Oh,
and he was being treated with an alternative therapy in the US that was a holistic approach to cancer treatment. And it involved us changing our food and everything to organic sources. But one of the things we were unable to do was to change our personal care products to 100% organic. So my oldest daughter at the time was in school for holistic nutritionist. And so we started brainstorming how we could come up with our own products. And that's kind of how the company got started, is we talked about, what would be the first products we would replace that we were buying and what kind of ingredients should we be looking for. And then we came up with the first few products. The face cream was actually the very first product that was developed. And so my daughter, Katie's her name, she didn't end up continuing to work with me because she's now started her holistic nutritionist business.
cool.
But she was kind of instrumental in helping me get it started, like the concept of the products and, the whole idea of having few ingredients and having chemical-free products. And then my youngest daughter, Joanna, she's 25, and she and her friends, almost all of them, use my products, which is amazing because I would say initially the group of people that were introduced to the products first were my own friends who are in their late 50s, early 60s. And so initially I thought the demographic for the products was going to be, kind of middle age to older women, but it actually has the product customers cross all age groups. So from Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, all the way up to baby boomers. So it's
Wow.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, wow. I mean, because I mean, like, well, I mean, I don't need to tell you. I mean, you know better than me. I mean, younger people, like they aren't going to fake that. Like, I mean, especially your daughter's friends and stuff like that. Like, if they're using the product, like, it's because they like the product. Like, it's because it's good product.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah, they like the product. They like the sustainability messaging around it, that they're supporting sustainability. And some of her friends have given me testimonials about how much they love the products. So yeah, I think it's awesome that I have that youthful following for the products.
that's awesome. That's really amazing. Because I mean, it's just because I mean, like just like you said, like you started off with that older demographic. I mean, when you start off with something like, I mean, well, of course, it's all new to everybody, anyways. But just the positioning of it. I mean, I don't know how you actually positioned it, but I mean, I know starting off with that base may be discouraging. Like you mentioned, maybe you just won't expect the younger people to get into it.
Hmm.
But they did, and that
Yeah,
says a lot.
I know, it's amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. So where was your first job, and what did you do?
My first job. So I'm not from this industry at all. My initial training, so I don't know if you read the Seneca press release, but my initial training was electrical engineering technology. And my very first job was for the Department of National Defense in procurement. And then I went to work for Boeing on the space program. I actually worked on the space shuttle for 13 years. The division of Boeing I worked for built the space shuttle main engines. And then after that, I co-founded a tech startup, and we developed a product, an advanced electro-oxidation technology to treat contaminated water. And I did that for the last 20 years.
Wow.
So the skincare industry is a brand new industry to me, and I'm really enjoying it. It's very interesting. There is quite a bit of science in it as well. It's more
Yeah.
chemistry than electrical engineering, but I like the technical aspect to it. I find it really fascinating. So yeah, I just I know it's a huge segue from what I used to do, but I think the fundamentals of business and developing products kind of cross over all technical disciplines. So a lot of the things I learned in the other companies, I've been able to apply in this company.
Well, 100%. Well, I mean, just going back to when you're at like with the DND, like like procurement. I mean, logistics. I mean, that's a big part of like any business, but I mean, especially yours as well. And trying to source the right things, especially the ingredients that you're going after. I imagine um,
Hmm.
it's not the run of the mill ones that your competitors are going after. So it's not like you can just go down established channels. I think at least for at least some of them. I'm not sure, but I can just imagine. It's that's really cool because I mean, yeah, like because I mean that is one thing that I think the DND is known for among a lot of things, but it is logistics and supply chain. Like
Yeah,
they know their
absolutely.
stuff. Like they're very efficient and they're very effective. Like so, I mean that's great that you're able to bring that to this business because I mean I don't think there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. I've just continued to learn. I find it. I I like learning, and so I wasn't afraid of entering a new industry. I just, there's always people willing to tell you but how to do it better, and it's just getting the right mentors and people in your circle that want to share their experiences. And I'm experiencing quite a bit of that through Innovation Guelph, so it's been great.
That's great. That's great. Because I mean, and again, that's great that there's a resource like that out there. Because I mean, and especially relatively close by. Like that's. 'Cause I mean,
Yes.
instead of having to go to Toronto and having to navigate all that.
Well, these days it's all by Zoom anyway.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Like what we're doing now.
Perfect. Awesome. So I think we discussed it, but would you like to discuss a little bit more about your education?
Right. So initially I went to Seneca College for their 3-year electrical engineering technology program, and I took the concentration in nuclear power. And then after the next time I went through post-secondary, I went to Waterloo for mathematics. So I did a degree in math. And then I almost finished an MBA at McMaster in international business, but then life got too busy. So I didn't quite finish that one. But so I have a lot of business experience. The company I co-founded and ran for 20 years, I got a lot of experience through that. Most of it's been in technology development, but there's a lot of things that are common to business, to all businesses.
Uh, I can imagine. Well, I mean, just like, well, with like just product development in general, I mean, that's extremely important. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do,
Yeah.
and it's crucial for any company. So, and especially for your company right now, Glomalin, like
hmm
it's
And also things like customer service is like how the importance of it, like it's important in every business. If you
yeah,
don't treat your customers right, you'll lose your customers. So they expect a quality product on time that delivers the performance they expect. So that was the same in all the past jobs I had. And also controls around how you make things, like so that quality systems to make sure you make repeatable product so it's the customer gets what they always expect to get at the same level of quality. So those are all things I've learned in my previous jobs that I'm applying here.
100%. I mean, all of
Yeah,
those things are extremely important. Like it's yeah, all of them are. Can't be overstated enough.
yeah, that's right.
So, would you like to discuss any personal struggles you've overcome?
Probably the biggest personal struggle was juggling my husband's illness, the tech company I was running, and then I had started Glomalin. So I was doing all those 3 things at once. And my husband ended up passing away. He passed away in 2019.
Sorry to
So
hear.
it was that was probably the biggest challenge to overcome, was just, supporting him through his illness. We did manage to structure our lives in such a way that he was able to die at home, which was really great. And yeah, so I came through that. It was a very difficult time, and I don't know. I guess I overcame it, but it's you do what you have to do. Life throws things at you, and COVID is no different. It's introducing lots of challenges for lots of people. So far,
100%.
I've been lucky, touch wood, myself and none of my family have been ill, but lots of people have been affected, that's for sure.
100%. I mean, wow. I mean, like, any one of those things on their own would be a lot. I mean, especially with what you're going on with your husband. Like wow. I mean, that's amazing. Like that is quite the balancing act, to say the
It
least.
was, yes.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the thing is, at the time, you doesn't feel like it's a lot. It's actually after it ends that, because what happened was he passed away, and then about a year later, we got COVID. So he passed away, and then in that same year, my job, like in that 12-month period, my other job ended that I had for 20 years. So all of a sudden, it was just me by myself, looking after myself, and only focusing on Glomalin. And actually, that was probably felt more of a shock than managing all the stuff before. I know that sounds strange, but it's almost like you have to make an adjustment in how you're living, because now you don't have all the things you're juggling. So I actually found that I had more issues, how I was feeling and psychologically after the fact than I did while I was coping with all the stuff I was juggling.
It would have been all consuming, right? Like you would have had very little time to feel anything, I imagine.
You don't think.
Yeah.
You don't, you just do. And then after the fact, when you don't have all that stuff to juggle, then the mind kicks in, and yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That is quite the challenge. And thank you so much for sharing. Cause I mean, it, a lot of people like, people need to realize they're not alone in these experiences. And like, it, you can get past a lot of things. I mean, you obviously like it's just so difficult. Like it's so difficult, but like you've come a long way, I imagine, from like, well, I mean, obviously, like it's been a big change. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously with COVID, and I mean that's a huge change. And I mean, it's great that things are going well with Glomalin right now. I mean, again, that you've managed to pivot and get things moving forward, because it's it's great. Because I mean, going online is its own beast.
Yes.
And trying to find individual customers, like you mentioned, like it's an entirely different business.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a big change. I mean, again, just balancing everything. And like you said, like this is after the fact of all of that. But I mean, it's wow, it's extremely impressive what you've done. Like,
Thank you.
you don't hear that from me, but I mean, like it's just you've done. Like I'm so glad you shared, because I mean, like it's just amazing, like your story. So thank you so much. Um, so I think we've gotten the answer to this question. You started up Glomalin yourself, right?
Yep.
Awesome. And I think you mentioned this as well. You're the only employee right now. So I think the appropriate thing to ask is, what was the first major customer of Glomalin?
Harmony Whole Foods in Orangeville.
Cool.
And they're a great customer. They have there's a lot of local customers for the product, and they go there to buy it. So they have frequent orders to replenish supplies, and I would actually say their sales of the product now are above what they were prior to COVID at Harmony.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting.
That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I mean, and they've been around in the community for a while. Like, I mean, from what I understand, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, since the 70s, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, they've been around a long time. They're like one of the very first Whole Foods type stores. Like they were before their time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to talk to them then, because I mean that's really interesting, especially if they've been around that long. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. So that's really cool though, because I mean that's a local, like that's an established local business, like you mentioned, that's been around for a while. So I mean that's quite the endorsement as well, that like to be in their story, and that's really interesting to like that they're doing better now possibly than they were in like before COVID.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
I know. Wow. That's what I say.
So what was your biggest challenge in starting Glomalin?
Well, first of all, not coming from the industry, so was coming up with, so the approach that we used for the products was that I wanted to replace all the products I was currently buying with stuff that followed the Glomalin philosophy, which was few ingredients, chemical-free, from sustainable ingredients. And the first thing we started with was a face cream. And then the next thing we did was a serum and then a toner. So it was like one by one. The creams were the most difficult products to develop because there's kind of phases of making a product, phases of mixing and heating oils and stuff like that. So to get the proper consistency took a lot of iterations. So we made things and we tried them and we threw them out. And we went through that process for a while. And then once we got a product that I would actually use that was as good as the product I was buying from somewhere else, then I shared samples of that with my friends. And that's how it kind of got started. So that was probably, the most challenging thing because I was developing a product that I'd never done that kind of product development before. Everything I developed in the past had to do with my education, like electrical engineering. So this was like going into a brand new area.
100%.
And there's a lot of online resources that helped us. And so we did a lot of online research, but it was ultimately successful. And I would say that all the products we make, everyone that buys them loves them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, I can just imagine at the beginning too, because like you mentioned, like heating and mixing and all that, all the different phases. I mean, and like I'm thinking about it, I'm like, it's because like there's different like thicknesses and like in viscosity, I think to the different products, right? Like, and also just like, wow, yeah, it'd be very complicated. I can't imagine.
Well, it's like baking. It's like making stuff in your kitchen, right? So there's a chemistry to that, and this is kind of in that same area. And so the things I knew from making food is kind of, I used that kind of knowledge and applied it to this.
Cool.
And I know that's a very simplistic way to say it. Like the people that are actually skincare formulators with chemistry degrees would probably cringe at my description of how this stuff's made, but it is, kind of a similar approaches.
100%. When you get down to the basics, right? Like a lot of things. Like when you get down to the basics, and like you said, it's chemistry, and that's it.
It's chemistry,
and that is when you get down to what cooking is and what this is as well. And I mean, that's so no, I think I think like, well, yeah, it's an appropriate way to term things. I mean, it helps someone like me understand it.
That's right.
Like it's because I'm not great at cooking either, so or baking.
Yeah.
But, so yeah. So do you have any? I'm interested to hear this. So like, do you have any advice for those starting their own business?
So this is actually a lesson I learned in the last company that I ran, the tech company. When you start a company, you should try and get your first customer as fast as you can. That should be your goal should be, how quickly can I get the first customer? Because as soon as you have a customer, that gives you credibility for your product. When you make something and you have no one using it but yourself, you have no credibility in the marketplace, because people will just say, well, the only person using it is you, so how do I know it's any good? It's not until you have that first independent person that is actually paid money for your product, that's what you need to do. Do that as quickly as you can. Because I know there's always a desire, and I learned this along the way, there's always a desire to okay, I'll come up with this thing and I want to get it absolutely perfect before I introduce it to a first customer. Well, that could take you years.
Yep.
And what if you're going down the wrong avenue and you've spent all this time and resources, you come up with something, okay, now it's perfect, and you take it to the customers and they don't like it. So you've, missed your opportunity to get valuable feedback that would have maybe adjusted what you would have presented to a customer. I mean, that was one of the great things. We didn't have it. I think it was perfect as far as it was for me, but we still incorporated, feedback we got from people that tried it in the beginning.
Well, that is great advice, because I mean, like, there's too many people that they'll wait to perfect their like just wait to jump into their own business anyways. But once they get there, then it kind of, that's where a lot of our advice ends. But it's like, once you get there and you're working on it, it is important to get that first customer. Like, that's really the most, like, that is the most important thing. Like,
otherwise there's no business.
No.
If you don't have customers, you don't have a business.
100%.
So, yeah, acquire the first customer.
It's exactly. And like you said, like, it's what validates. Yeah. Like, it's what validates everything. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Cause that is something we haven't heard. And it is something, cause it's the next step after that.
Yeah.
And it can consume a lot of time, needlessly. So yeah. So we kind of mentioned, or we actually didn't actually, but is Glomalin currently hiring?
Not yet, but if I can grow sales the way I expect to, then I think the first person I would hire is someone to help with fulfillment. So packing up orders and doing deliveries. Yeah.
100%. Whatever can help fulfill those sales, right? Like, that's,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because my expertise is the manufacturing. So I'm, willing to give off the things that are not really the things I love. I love the making of the products, and the other things, I'll farm those out. I don't have employees per se, but I have a lot of people that support my efforts through like third parties, like Dufferin Media, for example, is one, Innovation Guelph. I mean, there's a lot of people that are helping me in my business. It's just I don't have direct employees yet.
That's awesome. That's great. 'Cause I mean, it's always good for growth, especially right now. I mean, it's not like there are businesses that are growing, but I mean, it's great to see that there are newer businesses that are growing that haven't been stunted too much by what's going on. Well, it doesn't sound like you've been stunted at all. There was that the adapting period, but that was pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah. So are there any plans? Well, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about this, but I want to make sure we have a chance to cover it, make sure. Are there any plans for Glomalin's expansion you'd like to share with us now?
So my goal is to grow sales by, I would say, I would like to grow my sales by at least 10 times, maybe even 20 times next year.
Oh, wow.
So right now I'm working with, again, my partners, Dufferin Media, Innovation Guelph, to figure out how I can accomplish that without my usual ways of engaging new customers. So we're trying to come up with things we can do through online, through mailing samples as opposed to, doing the trade shows. So we're trying to come up with innovative ways to engage other customers. So we're working on that right now.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Awesome. I mean, that's a great, I mean, again, more customers is the way to growth. I think that's obviously. So awesome. So have you exceeded the original goals you had with Glomalin?
Have I exceeded well, I would say that where I expected to be by now is COVID has affected me by about a year. Like the growth that we're working for in 2021. I expected to have this year in 2020, but it didn't happen for all the same reasons it didn't happen with anybody else. So next year, I expect that it will happen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what would you consider to be the biggest challenge that Glomalin will experience in the years ahead?
Well, I'm expecting that our biggest challenge will be how to address rapid growth and scale up production. And that's a good problem to have, so I hope I have it. And as I mentioned before, Innovation Guelph helped companies similar to me build production facilities. So I'm going to be looking to them for the same kind of assistance. So today I manufacture and fulfill and ship out of my home in Mono, Ontario. But my goal is to actually build a production facility, and I would expect to locate it in Dufferin County.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow. So wow. So that's great, because I mean that's more local jobs. I mean that's awesome.
Yes, exactly.
And we need that. So I mean I think we're all in favor of less people having to commute for their jobs. But yeah, so that's awesome. So are you looking forward to anything in the near future?
I'm looking forward to that growth and, expanding not only the production, but also we're planning, once the company gets to that kind of growth, we're going to introduce some new product lines as well. So right now, I would say our main products are, personal face care and body care for adult men and women. But I would specifically like to introduce a men's line, and I've been asked for that. And we'd also like to do a line for babies and / expectant mothers, because there is a real interest in having products that are chemical free for children and babies. Yeah.
100%. I mean, that's great, because I mean, especially when they learn to use it young, the kids, just kind of like the students, like it lasts a lifetime. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, it's great that they learn about these products now, versus and use these products now, not just learn about them, but use them now, so they can build it into their lives, their entire life. I mean, that's great.
Yes.
That's awesome, because I mean, waiting, like, I mean, again, waiting until someone's 20, I mean, or so, like that's great. That does help, because I mean that's when they're spending their own money, um, to a large extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's great that the kids, like, just there's an opportunity for kids to get it throughout their entire life. Never mind, it's just the healthier thing to, like, again, it's just the healthier
Yes.
thing to do, and better for the environment as well. Like, I mean, for farming, it's yeah. I don't need to tell you. Like,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
so so what will happen after you leave Glomalin? Like, is there an exit strategy or succession plan or anything like that?
So my two daughters, they're doing their own thing right now, but my plan is that I want to succeed the business to them.
That's awesome.
So I would like to keep Glomalin a Canadian business, and I don't want it to be acquired by a big multinational, because that sometimes they do acquire businesses and they keep the integrity of the products, but oftentimes they don't. And I've been asked this by customers, that to please make sure I maintain the integrity of the products. So I want to grow Glomalin as a Canadian brand and keep it in Canada. So that's my goal, and I would love for my daughters to be the people that take over from me. So that's my goal, and they know it and are agreeable to it so far.
Well, that's great, especially considering how you started up the business as well. I mean, that's awesome, because it sounded like from how you were telling the story, it sounds like at least the one daughter was very involved in the business in creating, which is great. Because I mean, it was a very nice story. Like just hearing about it, like how you guys were working on it all together, and
Hmm.
it's yeah, it's not
Yeah,
easy for family to work together. Like
I know it's not.
it's not, but
That's true.
yeah, no, that's great. Because I mean, and again, just like you mentioned, how passionate your customers are about keeping the integrity of the product, and how awesome it is that you're mentioning how don't want to sell it to a big corporation. That's awesome. Because then
Hmm.
because then the name would truly just become a name, and it would lose all meaning. Um, and people wouldn't even care that, like, when people looked it up, it would have no association with what the actual definition is. And
That's right.
when
Yeah.
you have made it so that it actually does, um, which is great. Because I mean, yeah, I don't need to reiterate all that you just said. You captured it perfectly. Uh, yeah. Oh, but yeah, so that's awesome. So is there anything you'd like to say to the people of Dufferin before we wrap it up?
Um, I'm really happy to be located in Dufferin, and I've gotten amazing support from the community in so many ways. And I continue to have that support through COVID. So I love to grow Glomalin here and keep it here, and can have it continue to contribute to the community, both in the products it delivers and also by employing local people.
That's
So
awesome.
I hope all those things come to pass.
Awesome. Me too. And I think the community does as well. Because again, it's great to have products like these in our community. I mean, we do. I mean, we do have a lot of people that are of this kind of mind in our community, and I think there'll be more and more coming, or more people just learning the importance of it. So I mean, it's great that we do have a local company doing something like this that's growing, and again, doing all the things that you said. Like it's so great. It's so great. So again, thank you so much. So what's the best way to get in touch?
Well, you can contact me at angela@glomalin.ca, and that's Angela with two L's, my
Awesome.
mother's unique spelling. And or you can contact us through the website, glomalin.ca.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Angela. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Josh. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So again, everybody, that was Angela Hughes of Glomalin, which you can find at glomalin.ca. And I'm Josh MacEwen, and thank you for listening to Dufferin Spotlight on Business. Thanks.
All right, everybody. That's it for this episode of Dufferin Spotlight on Business, and I hope you enjoyed it. Big thanks to Angela for helping make this possible, and thanks to you, the audience, for listening. Keep up with everything that's going on with Glomalin. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or check out their website, glomalin.ca. If you would like to learn more about the people and businesses that make Dufferin what it is, make sure to check back every Tuesday for new episodes. The easiest way to stay up to date is to follow us on social media, subscribe to the Dufferin Spotlight YouTube channel, or wherever else you prefer to listen. We're available on pretty much every podcast platform, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. If there's somewhere else you'd like to listen and we're not on it, please let us know through our website. We'll do our best to make it happen. If you haven't checked out our last episode, it was with Elizabeth Bryan of Weaver Bee Textiles, who has been weaving for over 30 years, mixing fibers and colors, creating hand-dyed and hand-woven scarves, bags, and purses that she makes available for sale through Weaver Bee. And that's not all she offers either, so be sure to check out their website. The high degree of detail exhibited in Elizabeth's work complements the vivid colors to create truly unique products that we can all enjoy. Weaver Bee is a member of the Hand Weavers Guild of America, the Ontario Hand Weavers and Spinners, as well as Headwaters Arts. If you would like to learn more about Weaver Bee Textiles, check out their website, weaverbee.ca, and follow them on social media. If there's a local business you would like to see on Dufferin Spotlight on Business, be sure to reach out and let us know. Also, be sure to check out Dufferin News. Anyways, I'm Josh MacEwen. Thanks for listening, and until next time, get to know your community and shop local. Thanks.